Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a paint by number video, a paint by number kit that I have made here. If you have ordered this one, then you probably saw on the little instruction color guide that you can follow along with me, and that's why you are here. If you haven't, you can check out this design and many other designs on my website. I will link it below in the description. You can see all the different paint by number kits that I've made, and as you can see here, these paint by number kits are wooden canvases. Yours is going to look a little bit larger than this. This one was just a trial version that I made on a 6x6 piece of canvas wood. Yours will be on larger 8x8 canvas woods. I will get one that I finished out here so you can see the size difference there. So yours will be on this larger 8x8. I thought I would do one and paint along with you. So I'll be using this one as a guide, and we'll be going from there. So yeah, these are done on wood canvases. I burn in the lines with a wood burning tool before sending them off to you. And inside of your kit you should have received two paint brushes, one that will look like this with a little bit of a broad side to it, a nice flat brush, and then a detail brush that at this very moment I am still waiting for in the mail, but you will get them, and they will be small little detail brushes like this that we'll be able to use, especially when we get to this canoe part here in this painting. You also have received a color guide. Yours will also be much larger than this, about half a regular page, and you will see the numbers that correspond with the paint canisters, and then on the back there are painting instructions and tips, so you can follow along with some of those as well. So you should have received, as I just mentioned, those paint canisters with the numbers corresponding with the numbers on your piece of paper there. These ones obviously are empty, but yours will be full of paint. And lastly here, you should have received a little sawtooth hanging mechanism that you can screw into the back if you would like. And that will just go right at the back at the top there. And you can see I've also burnt in the name for you of this one. So this one, if you purchased it, you already know it is of Lake Louise, one of the most famous lakes, definitely in Alberta, probably one of the more famous lakes also in Canada. So we're going to be using a bunch of these colors here. You've already got them prepped for you in your little paint canisters. Something that you might need off to the side is an old rag or something to dry your brush off with, and a plastic cup, or I use mason jars for my paint water. As you can see, this is pretty dirty. I do need to empty it, rinse it out, and get some new water sometime soon. And I think that's it. So thank you for joining me here today. And if you're painting along with me, I appreciate you purchasing this from me. I've put a lot of time and effort and thought into these, and I've had a lot of fun making them, and I hope you enjoy this time making them as well. So this might take me a little bit less time than you, just because this is one of the smaller versions, and if you take a little bit more time on yours, that's totally fine. It's something to be enjoyed, not rushed through, right? If you've never worked with acrylic paint before, acrylic paint dries pretty quickly. So in between layers on this painting, you won't have to wait too long. And that also means that once you're done with the color, or you know you're not going to be using a color for a little bit, then it's a good idea to close that little canister here nice and tight to keep that paint from drying out. That's all that I can think of right now. So let's get going. You're going to have your little paint cans. I've got a little palette here that I'm going to be using to put out the colors here. So if you're interested, we'll start with number one, and number one is a cerulean blue hue. And the paints that you are using are Liquitex Basics. Yes, they are basics. They aren't professional grade, but they are still good quality paints. I will show you a quick difference here. When I've been kind of putting these things together and creating them, figuring out what colors I want to wear, what paints, I tried to just get some craft paints, and this is what I got. But if you compare the craft paints to the Liquitex Basic paints. The Liquitex Basics are much more bright and just colorful than the cheaper craft paints. So that is why I opted to get those ones instead of just using the craft paints. Only the best. Alright, so I've got a little bit of that blue there. One thing that you can do when you are painting, I would recommend using the broader brush because we're going to be doing some nice broad strokes here in the sky, and it is a large area that we need to fill in. So get a lot on your brush there and just start spreading it around. I remember when I first started painting, using a lot of paint scared me. Well, partially because paint is expensive and I didn't want to waste any. I had a fear of wasting paint. But you kind of get to a point where you need to try things in order to learn, and so I've somewhat gotten over that fear. I've definitely ended up wasting paint over the years, but that's okay. As long as you're trying things, then don't consider it wasted. Consider it experience and learning. If this is your first time on my channel, I welcome you and thank you for watching. If you've been here before, welcome back and thank you for being here. If you haven't seen my more intricate mixed media pieces that are just like this that I do, I would encourage you to go check them out on my website. I do a Lake Louise piece, I guess just similar to this. It's just a little bit more complicated than this. There's more design lines, and then I mix the colors. I don't just use pre-mixed colors like we are here. All of the colors in those ones are all, I mix them from different bases. Alright, so if you're still working on your background there, don't worry about it. Mine, as you can see here, because this is a 6x6 one, is much smaller. I'm just going to give that a second to dry, just slightly, before I add the second layer. As you can see here, and you're probably seeing on yours, you can see the wood grain still through the paint. And for these types of paintings, when you're painting on wood, that's very normal for that first layer to still be, you can still see through it a little bit, so that's why we add a second layer. For some of those more intricate paintings that I do, especially the ones where I use white in the sky, I'll be doing 3 or 4 layers of that white on there to make it really white. And you may ask, why don't I just paint on a white canvas? Because I think the wood makes it more interesting, and I like the wood burning part of these ones as well. Alright, I'm going to get some more on here. I could have waited a little bit longer. I can still see in some parts it's not completely dry, but that's okay. If you want to let your one layer there dry a little bit longer, you could move on to the next and come back to it. That's totally fine. The reason I'm not doing that right now is just because I want to finish one color, rinse off my brush before starting a new color. If you've ever been to Lake Louise before, you'll know that the water in it is so milky almost, right? Like, it's very, very cloudy. You can't see through it at all. And my sister and her family, they're big into kayaking, and they went and kayaked on Lake Louise. I think it was last summer. I can't remember when. And she said that she could really feel a difference even in just how the kayak went through the water, that it felt like they couldn't go as fast because the water was so thick itself, which I found to be quite interesting. Alright, so I've got that first blue color finished, 2 layers on it. You can see how you feel after that. If you feel like you might need to add another one, just do it. One thing that I always try to encourage people and say to people is, you're not doing things wrong, just do what looks best to you. Alright, so our number 2 color, in your number 2 canister, you will find some light blue permanent. So I'm going to put a little bit of that down here. We'll do just a tiny bit more. And in the canisters, my plan was to give you much more paint than you needed, so you could be very generous with your layers and everything. So if for some reason you don't think there's enough or don't have enough, please let me know so I can make some adjustments. Alright, so we're adding in this light blue permanent here. And if you've ever looked at the sky during the day, you'll notice that the closer you get to the horizon line, the lighter the blue color in the sky becomes. And it's obviously much more gradual than what we're depicting here in this painting, but that's part of the fun. So we get to exaggerate those lines here. Alright, let's flip it over there. You'll notice here, I like to, since I'm right-handed, I like to paint with the end of the brush on the line that I'm going towards. I find it easier to control where the paint goes to. And so feel free to, flip this thing around however many ways you want. You don't have to paint it right side up. Yeah, you never do. Even with some of the large paintings that I do, ones that have, that are 2 feet by 3 feet, or even larger ones than that I've done, I'll flip that whole canvas around at certain points. If I need to. I need to learn to use both hands when I paint. Then I wouldn't have to do that. Then I could just go from both. Maybe you're able to do that. That would be sweet. Let me know in the comments if you can. If you get little black dots on yours, that's just some of that, some of the burnt wood pieces coming up from the cracks, and you can just wipe them off. It's fine. They don't do any harm. Alright, again, I could have waited quite a bit longer. So you can see it's still kind of wet in there. So we'll give it another 30 seconds. I find that acrylic painting on wood dries extra fast. It's like the wood is kind of soaking it in there. Alright, I'm just going to go in here, add this second layer. Again, if you want to wait longer, definitely feel free to just pause the video and come back to it. Or I guess one option you could do, kind of like I said before, is you could do the whole thing once and then go back and do it again, adding a second layer, and then you don't have to really wait for drying time, because that will happen all by itself as you're working through. If you're new to painting, I'm glad you're trying it out. Growing up, I was never into painting, never into art. I was kind of intrigued by it, but I didn't think I had an artistic bone in my body. so I never really tried anything. And some of you may have heard my story before, so I won't share the whole thing again, but just I was bored and wanted to try something new and decided to get some cheap art painting supplies and try it out, and loved it. So, you know, if this is that moment for you, I'm honored to be a part of that, and I hope that you continue to create whatever it is that you like to create and however you like to create it. I like to do landscapes, animals, and things like that. I don't like to do some other things, and I just don't do them. And I like to do it how I've done it. I never have taken lessons or anything. I'm all just self-taught, so that's one beautiful thing about art. You can do it however you like, and nobody can tell you you're wrong if you're just doing it on your own. Alright, so that second layer of blue is done. I'm now going to wipe this off and rinse it off in my gross water there that I really need to change, and then just dry it off here. Try to dry it off pretty good. You could use paper towel for this as well, but reason being is if there's too much water left in your paintbrush, then it can water down some of your paints and they won't be as potent on your canvas there. Alright, our number 3 color is a neutral gray, and there's just a little bit of that, so I'm just going to put a little bit of neutral gray down. You will definitely have enough in your little paint can there, and we'll add in some of this gray. More paint than that, but that's fine. If there's a scene or an idea of something that you would like me to try as a paint by number kit, or just as a painting in general, feel free to leave a comment below or shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to receive suggestions from all of you out there. I had originally thought that a smaller 6x6 would be the right size for these, but once I actually got them and tried them, I decided the larger 8x8s that you're painting on right now are better. The little bit larger size is good. They're not too big, but they're not too small. Alright, I'm just going to get a little bit more of that out here. And it's a little bit wet still. If you don't get paint on your hands at least once, then are you really painting? No, it's funny. I'm a part of a lot of art groups on social medias, and a lot of times people complain about how messy they get their clothes and stuff, and I guess maybe I don't know exactly what type of art they're doing, but I will occasionally get paint on my clothes, but it's definitely not every time that I'm painting. I just finished a large commission, a 2-foot by 3-foot grizzly bear, and even through that whole process, through all those hours, I didn't get paint on my clothes once. But if you do, that's fine. That's totally fine. That's part of the fun sometimes. Alright, there's that little mountain done. I'm just going to wipe the excess paint off the brush, but I'm not going to wash it. Reason being that I'm just going to be using another gray, so there's no need to. It's okay if there's a little bit of gray. And this is the only color that I have that is actually Artist's Loft. They didn't have this, it's just gray, but it's a little bit darker than the gray we just did, this neutral gray, and they didn't have that in this Liquitex Basics, and so I had to do a little bit with the Artist's Loft there. You might notice that it might take 3 layers with this one instead, and that's fine. So this is our number 4 color here, so we'll be putting that in those 3 different spots. And like I said, we will be doing probably 2 to 3 layers of this. And with some of these mountain pieces here that kind of get a little bit skinnier towards the end, if you want to use that detail brush, that smaller round brush that is in your kit, definitely feel free to. Yeah, you don't need to use this flat brush the whole time like I'm using. And while you're painting, if you ever have any questions that I don't answer while I'm just rambling on here, definitely feel free to send me a message, comment, email, message me on social medias or anything, and I try to respond as quickly as I can. Sometimes it'll be the same day, sometimes it might be a day or 2 depending on how that week is going. Alright, so I am going to leave those to dry, because then when I come back to do the second layer, it will cover much more smoothly than if I don't wait. So I'm going to let those dry, and we're going to move on to color number 5, and color number 5 is a raw sienna. It's a nice, rich, kind of a coppery brown color here. So I'll put a little bit out here, and we're going to be putting this in a few different places. We'll be going up here, down here, over here, and then also the inside of the canoe. I might not do the inside of the canoe part till the end. We'll see how I'm feeling. And if you're painting and you don't want to follow the orders 1 through 10, that's fine. You don't have to. They're just, when I usually do these paintings, I usually start in the sky and work my way down. And so that's kind of how I came up with the order of which color comes next, and it's nothing you have to follow for sure. You can jump around if you'd like. If you have any suggestions of videos you would like to see on my channel, definitely let me know. I've got time lapses, I've got tutorials, I've got product reviews, I've got relaxation study music with in the background of me just painting. Yeah, I've got tips for artists on here as well. If you're already an artist, maybe you want to know how to hang a stretched canvas or ship a canvas or anything like that. That kind of stuff is on there as well. But if there's something that you'd like to see, just let me know, and I try to post as much as I can, but it gets busy. You'll notice that if you have a color like this that you're doing a few different spots with, that by the time you're done the last spot, the first spot you've done is probably dry again. And so like this first spot might be, by the time we get done these spots, will hopefully be dry. Alright, and the little part on the canoe here. This part you'll probably want to use your little detail brush. This is actually one of the reasons I ended up getting the detail brushes when I first was ordering the supplies for these kits. I just ordered the brush that I'm using right now, and I guess it is possible just to use it, but I didn't want people to feel like, you know, they were struggling with it, so I ended up getting 2 different types of brushes for you to use instead of just the one. Like I said before, these larger, well, it's not even that large, but in this case it's larger than the detail brush. They're good for spreading a lot of paint over these larger areas, like especially up in the sky. And some colors are more transparent than others, and so some might require 3 layers, but most here it seems like 2 has been sufficient so far, so we'll see. Alright, there's that color done, so I'll wipe off my excess paint first here. And I'm gonna wash that one off just because that color is different than that gray that I'm gonna go back to here quickly. So I'm gonna go back to this darker gray, our number 4 color, and add this second layer onto these parts here. Yeah, waiting for that to dry definitely helped in making this one have better coverage on that second layer. Spot here. Hard to believe we're already half an hour into this video. I know we didn't start painting right away, but yeah, it's crazy. Alright, wipe that off. I think I'll just wipe it off. I don't think I'll need to rinse it off as well. Alright, so then the last two colors that we got in the mountains here are the greens. So we'll start with our darker green, which is a Hooker's Green Hue Permanent. And yes, all my grade 8 and 9 students laugh at that color. Alright, I probably will need more than that, but we'll just put a little bit out to start. Alright, so let's grab some of that darker green here. As you can see, this green is quite transparent, so we're definitely going to want to let this dry in between layers. Yeah, you can really see that wood through that, which is fine. It'll just take another layer. Alright, we're also going to be doing this one, and this one, and this one. If you're enjoying this kit and this video, I would love if you would leave a thumbs up below. And if you haven't subscribed, I would love if you would subscribe. You honestly don't know how much it means to me. Sounds like my neighbor's building something in her backyard. You might be able to hear it in the mic, I don't know. So it's like later into the evening and dark outside, and there's pounding coming from the back. Okay, there's the third one done, and just this last little bit here. Alright, and again I want to make sure those are dry, so I'm going to just wipe this off, and we're going to go and use the other green on those other two spots before adding that second layer in there. So this number 7 on your color guide there is a light green permanent. And this green is also pretty transparent as well. But that's good if you're able to stagger doing the second layers between the two greens. It should give enough time for them to dry in between those layers. Alright, so there's those two first layers done. Let's just wipe this off and we'll go back to that darker green and we'll see how the second layer goes on here, see if we need a third or not. That's pretty good. If you wanted to, you could definitely do a third. We'll see what happens when we're all done here. Maybe we'll add a third layer of this dark green on here. Being able to see the texture of the wood through the green isn't that big of a deal. It almost makes it look more like it has plants in it or something, you know, trees. Alright, I did run out there, so I'm just going to add a little bit more. It's probably too much, but if I end up doing a third layer, then I'll be able to use that up. Alright, I think I will do a third layer on those after this other green, so I'm just going to wipe that off again. And grab this lighter green that we've been working with. Start spreading that out here. And on your canvas it might end up with only needing two. These 6x6 ones, the wood is a little bit rougher than on those 8x8 ones that you have, and so that might be part of the cause of needing an extra layer here. So if you don't need it, by all means don't worry about adding one. Okay, and I will go back here and do that third layer on this darker. I guess it would be more fun if I was able to chat with you directly while we were doing this instead of just watching and stuff, but this is the best we can do for now. if you know me, I'm a pretty quiet person, so during these videos is probably the most talking I do. Well, no, outside of teaching, that is, but usually is stick to myself quite a bit. My wife gets after me quite a bit for not talking enough. Alright, there's those 3 layers done. So I'll just wipe this off a little bit and rinse it. Okay, we've only got 3 colors left, 8, 9, and 10. So 8 is our nice deeper turquoise. It's actually called a turquoise blue. So we're going to put some of that out here. And our turquoise blue is going to go in the very bottom and in this third one from the bottom up. And compared to the green, you can probably tell already from what you're doing, it is not as transparent as those greens are. It has a nice solid opaqueness to it. It's almost so opaque it might not even need 2 layers. I might do it just because, but it's pretty opaque compared to those other colors we've been using, which is interesting. Alright, so there's that one. And the very bottom one we'll do as well. Spread this color out. I might just do a quick second layer over these two. I mean, it honestly doesn't really look like it needs it that much, but I'll just go over it anyways. I do have paint on the palette, so I may as well use it up. Although I probably won't have enough to do the bottom as well. I'll try not to put too much out and waste it. There we go. There's the top one done. Most often, if anything, it just needs like a little second coat closer to the line, because when it burns it, then it can get, you know, you can see that the canoe at the bottom is almost a bit yellow, just because the heat from the burn also just changes the colors of the wood around it as well. It's most visible with white for sure. You can really see what's showing through, and it's very frustrating. I'm taking paint right from the paint tube right now. For some reason that seems like it shouldn't be allowed, but that's okay. Somebody would probably tell you somewhere that that's like a unwritten rule in painting, is not to take paint right from the tube, but that's okay. All right, there's that color. So I'm going to wipe that color off. Color number 9 is a nice bright aqua green, and if I could do the whole lake like that, I almost would, but it's nice to have the difference in colors there. I think I will just quickly wipe this brush off so I don't get any of that turquoise blue in there. So again, this is color number 9. And again, if you want to use that detail brush for this line here, that's totally fine. I'll probably regret not using it. Fingers are getting a little bit messier here. Fingers though, not on my clothes. I probably got too much of this color out, but we shall see. My goal is to get this video done for you in an hour. We're 10 minutes and 12 seconds away. We should be right on track. That's not saying that you have to finish it in an hour, because yours is, again, it's larger than mine here. And you might paint slower, which is totally fine. But I don't want you to be bored in these videos, even though I've been silent for quite a bit here. If you're a creative person and you like, maybe you aren't into painting, but maybe you have a hobby of any sort, and if you listen to things in the background or watch things in the background, I'd love any suggestions. I will often listen to podcasts or watch TV shows, or watch/listen while I'm creating, and if you've got any suggestions of things that I should check out, I would love for you to suggest those to me. Some of you are probably thinking now, and I'm just realizing I don't think I ever did a second layer of this dark, of this brown in this canoe. Maybe I did. At this moment, I can't remember. So maybe we'll go back in and add a second layer at the end if I need to. This nice aqua green, it's called. I'll just call it turquoise. It's a nice color. I love it. I use this color in my more intricate paintings that I do myself. Not the same basics acrylic. I use the more expensive one for it, but it's still that same color there. Alright, let's add this second layer in on this line here. If you've got any good music suggestions for me, that would be awesome too. And they don't have to just be in English. I love listening to foreign music as well. I'm trilingual, if I can't even say that word, trilingual. I speak English, French, and Italian. And the majority of my iTunes is Italian music at this point, and iTunes playlist or YouTube playlists that I have. I love listening to Italian music. If you didn't know, I lived in Italy for a couple of years after high school. It's where I served a mission for my church. And while I was there, I hadn't started painting yet, because that was back in 2011. I started painting in 2014, but I did have the opportunity to see quite a few amazing pieces of art. You can probably guess some of them, being I've been a couple times to the Sistine Chapel, because I lived right in Rome. Maybe I've been there 3 times. I can't remember, but definitely more than once. I saw quite a few other Caravaggio paintings, other works by Da Vinci. And at the time, yeah, I thought it was cool. But, you know, looking back on it now, since I'm an artist now, it's quite fascinating what those artists were able to accomplish and the skill that comes along with it. I can't imagine the hours that they put into those pieces of art. Alright, there's that turquoise done, and we are sitting at 4 minutes and 30 seconds till an hour. We're doing okay. We might go slightly over. Depends how much I ramble on at the end. Alright, so our last one for this red canoe is a pyrrole red or pearl red. I don't know how to say it exactly. And we're not going to need too much of that. We're just going to put a little bit out here. And I am going to rinse off this brush because I really want this red to just
just red, you know, nothing contaminating it there. This is kind of like the icing on the cake, even with the larger ones I do of Lake Louise. I always save I have 2 canoes in that, in my original design. And I always save the canoes for the end, 'cause just adding in that bright red at the end is very satisfying. I decided in this video not to do any like fast forwards or, you know, time-lapse sections. I decided to keep it all real time. Let me know if you enjoyed that, or if you would want me to, you know, fast forward when I do like the second layers of different parts or things like that when I'm not talking. I just thought it would be fun to do the whole thing real time with you here. I did try one other one. If you have seen the grain elevator one, that one I did do a little bit of fast forwarding in certain spots, so you could check that one out for comparison. I think just in 2 spots. But let me know what you think about that. I'm gonna let this red dry just slightly here, and I should probably wait longer, but I'm just gonna go in and add this second layer here. Sorry for the dramatic pause. If you've ever watched my videos before, tutorials or anything like that, I often have dramatic pauses. My clock is telling me we're at 58 minutes and 25 seconds, but I would have cut off a little bit at the beginning when I just started, so I think I've got 20-ish more seconds than what I think I have. Not that you should ever race to finish anything, but we are coming up at the end here for me. Alright, there's that nice red canoe with some seats there. If in any spots that you feel like you need to add another layer, if you haven't done it already, now is the time to do that. I'm gonna quickly wipe off and wash off this brush. These brushes are actually quite good. Well, the handle's kind of loose on this one a little bit, but the bristles themselves have lasted me quite a few of these little paintings. And if you found that you painted over any of those lines, that's what I was getting to here. Where did I put mine? You can grab a pen. I just use a black pen with a really fine tip and just kind of go in the lines where you feel like you painted over, and it will often scrape out any paint that got into those lines and kind of just renew that blackness in there for you. Yeah. And if you want to, you could sign it on the front or the back. And if you would like to, you could also paint the edges of a color that you have a lot of extra of, or just leave it with that natural wood finish, which I think I'm going to do here. So thank you for joining me here today. This was a lot of fun painting this one with you. I hope that you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment. Send me a picture with your finished painting. You can email it to me at brian@briansloanartist.com, and I will share it on my social media feeds if you would like. If you're interested in other paint by number kits, check out my website, and like I said at the beginning, that part will be linked below. And yeah, thank you again. We will see you next time at Brian's Lone Artist.